Welcome to It's Open with Ilana Glazer. This week's episode is going to be solo. I'm a little nervous about it because I'm going to be talking about my life through the eyes of my pelvic floor, which some would argue is my pussy. Listen, I'm coming today exactly as I am. No maquillage, just, I don't know, as I was before I filmed. I didn't change. I'm just here as I am. And I wonder if you'll accept me. We'll see. Come on in, It's Open. I want to talk about my body today because women's bodies and women's health is purposely obscured such that women have a somewhat secret language of whispering to each other about what is happening to our bodies, what has happened, warning signs, because so many doctors don't know about women's bodies. So I have had a long journey of awareness with my pelvic floor, which started at age 4. When I was 4 years old is when I remember starting to have chronic pelvic floor pain. Chronic. I would have spells that were very painful, that were like spasms. I would hold tension in my pelvic floor. And it was very painful. It was hard and painful to like pee. I couldn't relax. What also happened at age 4 is my house was robbed. My house was robbed. And like family jewelry was stolen. This is one of 2 times that my house was robbed in my life. So that has been something that I've connected to this pain starting, feeling invaded and scared and holding my tension in my pelvic floor. And it kind of became a secret, a sad and scary secret I kept that I felt like was something that was my fault, that was wrong with me. Crazy. You know, this is a new way of looking at it, of saying it out loud to an audience. Wow. So it's hitting me differently too. So I kept this secret from age 4 until I was 7. It was painful. I couldn't describe it. I didn't have the words for it. At age 7, I was in gymnastics competitions when I was a kid. Whatever, I was a gymnast. And also like in the 90s, that shit was, I guess it still is like a money-making scheme. In a truly like abusive, like gymnastics context, that was like very much like that kind of like mill, you know what I mean? I also did dance competitions later, which was much more of a healthy situation. But the gymnastics people, it's this family-owned gymnastics farm, essentially. And they're like, you're going to make it to the Olympics. And I was like, well, then I better be ready for the Olympics, you know? And I'm a person who's like creative and ambitious and puts pressure on myself. And by the time this comes out, I will have turned 39, 39 years in. And finally, I'm like, I can sort these things out. So, you know, it makes sense as I look back on my life, like feeling like, oh, I want to be seen. I want like a container to organize my ambition and whatever, you know, gymnastics talent I had. But it was a container for me to put my energy into, put my focus into, and to take myself seriously. And yeah, that was like such a 90s thing, and some like, you know, promise of a ticket to somewhere. And I was very, you know, wanting that to be, I don't know, wanting to be successful in a way. And at this point it was that. And I didn't tell my parents. There was like one time when, oh my gosh, this, you know, I was doing these like burpees and they made me do 100 and I was a little kid. And I was sobbing after. And like, you know, I tried to like hide it from my mom. And I tried to hide it from my parents. In fact, I ended up breaking my elbow because this teacher, Barbara, refused to spot me. I was like, I can't do this move. And she was like, do it. You can do it. If you don't do it yourself, you know? And I like literally took a like, somewhat of a like suicidal dive from the high bars to the ground and broke my elbow. And I did it to be like, this will be my ticket out of here. so dark and sad. But I couldn't otherwise articulate to my parents, like, this is abusive. It doesn't feel right. It's not fun. There was like some like sick pressure that I was putting on myself that it took a long time for me to sort out. And I remember, when my elbow was broken, my little yellow and purple cast, yellow was my favorite color. Purple was Drea, my best friend's favorite color. And I had this cast, like I was in the bath and I had the cast like on the bath edge. And my mom, like from the outside of the bathroom was like, Ilana. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, if you don't want to do gymnastics anymore, you don't have to. And I was like, yeah, I don't. And she was like, okay. And I like remember her like walking away and having this moment in the bath to myself being like, yes. Oh, I don't have to do fucking gymnastics anymore with these crazy ladies, this crazy family of like sadistic sisters. And, my family was like close or relatively close. I think we're closer now and have a much more deeper and healthier understanding of what closeness truly is. But like they were lovely. My parents were so sweet and accepted us in all different kinds of ways that I didn't see my peers finding acceptance in their families. And yet still like the culture was so oppressive. And I was like a precocious kid. Part of me, thinks like, wouldn't I like step up and say this to my parents? But like there was something very tight about me, which is like, was held in my pelvic floor, this tension. So all this to say, so now you're getting a sense of like the anxious and, truth be told, depressed kid that I was. But from ages 4 to 7, I'm not telling my parents about this pain that's consistently showing up as episodes. And then now you really have this example with gymnastics. Like, I'm like, no, I'd love to go. And it's like, you would? Like in the evenings after school, you don't want to just hang at home? Like, so fucking strange. And actually, my mom was a part-time telemarketer. Maybe she would like drop me off on the way to gymnastics because it was in the same like lonely mini mall complex of like businesses. Oh my God. I wonder, I have to ask her if that was like my way to feel like close by to my mom who was working at night. Like, oh, she drops me off. She's over there and she'll pick me up on her way out. Oh my God. So we're driving, my God, the fucking mishigas of my parents who were like, there was genuinely a middle class at this time. My parents were like genuinely middle class, struggling, but certainly not destitute, and had their parents as a support system if the bottom fell out. But, genuinely middle class, spending our money on gymnastics gear and to enter competitions. It's a scam. What a fucking scam. And unless I don't know, unless you make it to the Olympics, like where the fuck do you draw the line? Anyway, so we're going to this this gymnastics meet upstate, and my brother came too. So it's like my whole family, and Elliot's older than me, just like biding his time while his little sister just gymnastics meets. Crazy. Anyway, so we're at a rest stop, and I was on the toilet in the bathroom, in the public restroom, and my mom was outside, and I like just needed a second to like relax my pelvic floor. And I felt like self-conscious, like my mom's waiting for me. I could say I'm pooping, but like I certainly couldn't lie. I couldn't lie then. I can't lie now. And I was like, I just need a second. And I forget the way in which I told her the exact words I used, but I was like, actually, like it hurts, and I just am taking a second. So okay, we wash our hands, we go back in the car, and I forget, I remember one word, I'll tell you in a second, but I forget exactly how I wonder what it was that I said. Like, I actually have pain, it hurts in my vagina. Like, I wonder what it was, but I was like, it feels, and I remember, and I was telling both my parents, and Elliot's in the car too, and I was like, it feels like salty. This is the word I remember using, salty, because it stung and it was making me think of salt in a wound. And in fact, I'm thinking of my vagina as a womb at this time, and inaccurately thinking of my pelvic floor as my vagina. But, I thought it was only my vagina, and that was the word I used. And something else I'm like realizing right now in like development is I didn't masturbate as a kid. I was very like afraid and ashamed. I thought I was in trouble if I were going to touch my body in a pleasurable way or find pleasure or have a relationship with myself in that way. It felt strange and very far away and very dark and shadowy in my mind. Like, oh my God, that's something so shameful. I can barely even think about it. Because I have friends, I'm remembering a childhood friend who as grownups, or at least, college age kids or just after college, she was telling me she started masturbating at 5 and knew these feelings. And I was like this is like so Ilana Glazer and potentially very Ilana Wexler. Like I see that as a damn gift. I think it is gifted when people can own their pleasure at a young age and access it. But, sexual development starts at a young age. And I think a lot of my chronic pain was stemming from a fear and shame about what is a natural sexual development. So I remember saying salty and like, man, fucking 90s ass suburbs sitting in the car with our like stupid haircuts. So that was the first time that I told them about this pain. And I think after that, I was perhaps telling them more as pain was occurring, because at age 8, we finally told my doctor, my pediatrician, oh, God bless this sweet old Jewish man who had no fucking clue what to do, and prescribed yeast infection cream, which I think was a generally numbing situation and was also like not appropriate. Not that he was inappropriate. He was absolutely uneducated, ignorant, and doing bad doctoring at this time. Not like malpractice. I'm just like, he did not know. It was, if I was 8 years old, it was 1995, and he didn't know what the fuck. Did not know what the fuck. And then I just kind of managed until 8 years old. I think I managed until I was like 15, which is the next stop at a doctor's office. Hi, real quick, just jumping into your regularly scheduled programming to show you some new shoes and offer you an incredible discount. Okay, so let's start with these Psy sandals. They're from Stuart Weitzman's new collection in black. They are just so good. Sexy and flirty, that's the Stuart Weitzman style to me. The design is sophisticated yet fun, quietly sexy. Like so chic, polished yet easy. There's just this sort of whisper of horny, but also comfortable and walkable. She's obsessed. Women are so powerful, and the system that we live in does not reflect that. In fact, the system is designed to pretend it's the opposite. So when I'm running around doing what feels like literally 1 million fucking things in my day, I want to feel my power, and I also want to feel beautiful. And even if I don't feel like I have my shit together, I want to present like I do. And that's what I love about Stuart Weitzman, this legacy New York brand, which is always serving women's styles that are timeless, polished, and comfortable. So the tea, you can get these size sandals for 20% off, not 10, 20% off. Thank you, Stuart Weitzman. Thank you, people behind Stuart Weitzman, for offering me and my viewers and listeners 20% off. I am thrilled. If you text Ilana to 60692, you can get 20% off anything on the website. And I put together a little Ilana Stuart Weitzman edit, so you can see some of my favorites, which was hard to narrow down. Listen, we are subject to terms and conditions. Messages and data rates may apply. Yeah, of course. But you get 20% off the shoes. So go get that discount, and please enjoy the rest of It's Open with Ilana Glazer. Thank goodness springtime is here. I was losing it, dog. But I'm so happy it's here, because when I put my boots back on the shelf, I put on Bombas footwear. Check this out. Oh yeah, it's time for springtime and summer, baby. This is waterproof. This is lightweight. I could toss it. Here's another product. I could toss it in my bag. I could toss them on, walk outside, take a shower at the gym. You know what I'm talking about? Not to brag that I go to the gym. And I'm just loving it. This is Bombas footwear. I thought they just made socks. No, they make footwear too. You know what I also didn't realize they make? Underwear and t-shirts. I'm wearing it right now. It's breathable. It's soft. It's feeling good on my body. Oh, check this out. Yeah, that's nice. It just feels good. I'm loving it. And something I did not know about Bombas is that for every item you purchase, an essential clothing item is donated to someone facing housing insecurity. One purchased, one donated, with over 150 million donations and counting. Whew, these are high quality products. And to think that I'm buying something and someone who needs this is receiving it as well makes me feel good. So head over to bombas.com/Ilana and use the code Ilana to get 20% off your first purchase. So Bombas is bombas.com/Ilana, ILANA, and then use the code Ilana, ILANA, to get 20% off. See you later. I grew up on Long Island. There's like, Brooklyn is Kings County. Then there's Queens County. These are part of what is Long Island, but they're, municipally New York City. Then there's Nassau County, which is diverse but violently segregated, but has a lot of Jews. Where I grew up, Suffolk County was always conservative, was never Jewish, was like German potato farmers, like white, OG white. And then I grew up with like Italian and Irish kids as well. I would say that was the leading culture, but it was just like very, very white and segregated. Grew up with people who were not white also, but socially and culturally and narratively, they were not centered. In my middle school and high school experience in Smithtown on Long Island, which was conservative, then it's so Trumpy, but it went QAnon. We're talking QAnon up in the library, but this is just the loudest voice. People, Long Islanders where I grew up, when shit like this has happened, people have stepped up and been like, no, you put the like queer family books back on the shelves in the library. Like it's kind of amazing. All this to say, what I'm remembering is Kelly, poor Kelly, being like this cool girl who would like play the bimbo as a safety measure and defense mechanism. But like she was so, I wonder where she's at now, but Kelly, who was like, I remember her being like, yeah, I wake up at like 5 a.m. to put on my makeup. Like a literal child waking up at 5 a.m. and school is at 7:13, cruelly waking up at 5 a.m. to start applying her walls of makeup, like paint on a wall, And that was like middle school to me. And like, I was such a nerd. I am still best friends with my best friends from this time. I'm still best friend. They're my best friends from kindergarten. Andrew, Eden, Daniel, Jenna, Andrea, Kara, like these are still my best friends. And especially Andrew, Eden, Daniel, and I were like queer kids who like did not, like Eden and I were like kind of trying makeup, but it was like, it's just so crazy to think about, and like I had my like boobs started coming in at like 4th grade. My mom was like scared of my body and, scared of my body, which is like, I was scared of my body. And this was probably felt, right? Like in the home. And my brother's 4 years older than me. So I never overlapped with him other than 1st and 5th grade, but never in middle school. And we didn't overlap in high school, but Elliot is gay and he was, dealing with this himself. And then also we were one of the very few Jewish families. And there was much racism, much anti-Semitism, much homophobia. And like what people knew of trans existence was transphobia. This is the culture that I grew up in. Very like uncomfortable and like no space. Now at 39, looking back and being like those years from age 8 when I was at my doctor's office to age 15, like age 8 is like 3rd grade. Like, I don't know. It's just like, there's this like shadow, like where I can't see through it. I have these feelings of like, oh God, in my middle school, dude, I graduated high school with 700 kids. My school had 3,000 children moving like cattle, shoulder to fucking shoulder. You get 4 minutes to run from one side of the building to the other side of the fucking building. There's no space to know who you are, And like, so all this to say, I was pelvic floor wise, I was having a lot of pain regularly, and it was debilitating. And I would go to the bathroom, and I would get so hot in class if I had pelvic floor pain. And I was like, to my own body, I'd be like, girl, fuck, just this harshness of like, there it goes again, bitch, like to myself, as though I could control this, be as though, this harshness itself is where the pain is coming from inside of me, I would get so hot in my cheeks and then go to the, one of the 3 stalls in the nearest public restroom that might as well have been, at a gas station. It was just such a big old fucking gen pop mill of bodies, my middle school and high school. And I would just sit on the toilet and be like, ow, fucking ow. Ow. And it was spasms that was happening. Spasms, urethral spasms, I later came to learn, which will catch up with this, but it was UTI-like symptoms with no UTI. It was so painful. I was totally helpless, totally fucking helpless. And it felt like, I'm very true to who I am and who I have been. I've always been this person, and I always wanted to go to the city and go be who I was meant to be. And part of this, as I'm thinking about it through the eyes of my pelvic floor now, it was maybe I will be pain-free there. Maybe I will be, maybe something will be uncovered that I can discover or be, and maybe someone will speak the language. Well, I get to 9th grade, and God, it's 347 is the road. And this doctor, a urologist, was on this road. Dr. H something. This guy that perhaps I was articulating so much about the pain that my mom was like, let's figure something out or something. And then also I feel like at this time I understood, I got the phrase interstitial cystitis. Could it be, or cystoscopy, because he was saying a cystoscopy. So interstitial cystitis, I believe, means interstitial intervals of spasms. So I must have been equipped with this articulation because I remember going to this doctor, or maybe he told my mom and I that it was interstitial cystitis. And dude, I'm telling you, I was 15 years old. My mom and I are sitting in this office with this, white male doctor behind a desk. And he's like, he said something to the effect of, well, it's interstitial cystitis, and we could look in your urethra with a camera, and it's called a cystoscopy, but it won't give you any relief, and it doesn't matter what we find, essentially. He literally, I will never forget, I don't really remember his bland face. I don't remember the words he said, but I will never forget that he laughed at us in our faces about the helplessness of the situation. And it's like, bitch, you're a urologist, right? But going back to this thing of women, it is laughable, Dr. H bland face, but help. Nope, absolutely not. And laughed at us. I was a kid. I was 15. Megan Kelly may say this is arguably not a kid, but that's a kid. 15 is a child. Again, here we go back to the systemic pedophilia that is running our government, and unfortunately the billionaires that are running our world. That's a child. I was 15 and this doctor laughed. And my mom and I were equally dehumanized, humiliated. I remember the feeling of embarrassment between us. Her feeling embarrassed at her helplessness, me feeling embarrassed that I'm causing this shame on her. Fucking horrible. I remember high school, same thing. I'm okay, running to the bathroom when an episode occurs just to catch my breath because it was breathtaking chronic pain. And it would come on. I wouldn't know what it was. Still doing my nerdy thing with my best friends. We're queer kids, just whatever, doing our thing, not knowing who we are and not having sexual experience until senior year of high school, when we actually had a rift in our friendship. And I feel I must have filled that rift with my first boyfriend, my first real boyfriend in high school, I am so lucky. He was such a nice boy, so nice. And so kind. And this was the first time that I was having real sexual experience and sex. So I can't quite remember any correlation. No, actually I do. Pain between having sex and afterwards having to recover because I had so much tension in my pelvic floor. Yeah, I guess it was I was so tense and because I didn't masturbate. It's not I was knowing how to command my own body or my own pleasure of, oh, I'll relax into this. It was much more of I can fuck, let's fuck, you know, which like, by the way, I started when I was like 17. Like that was my, how I operated until I met my husband who, you know, we just had the kind of love and partnership where he could like literally guide me. And it's like about an unwinding. By the way, that took fucking years too. So my high school boyfriend, who was like just so sweet and such a good boy and good guy. You know, he was, I remember communicating to him the pain and him being patient about it, but I still couldn't quite articulate what was happening, what I needed. And I certainly wasn't taking enough time for my own pleasure, still wasn't masturbating on my own. Something that I missed as a kid was pleasure, learning pleasure so that I knew what wasn't right. And here I was in this very fortunate situation to have like a sweet and lovely boyfriend, but I didn't have the baseline of private, secret pleasure with myself to know that like, this is a little painful. I only knew pain. And then I knew sex. And sex was also a relief from the pain. It was A, something else. It was B, like, it felt good to like, you know, somewhat forcibly like open up, relax. You know, there's some sort of like, I don't even know how to say it. And it like kind of sounds funny, but like, you know, like a massage, but it's sex, you know, so whatever, like that pretty much. Something in this area, not totally articulated. So it felt good too, but there was like a recovery and sort of like almost a price I would pay in a way. But it really felt good intellectually and spiritually to be having sex and creating an experience in this way that I was too scared to have on my own. I was too scared too internally homophobic to have safely with girls and my friends. Before then sharing this with, you know, a boy who's like across the line of gender, right? So I was fortunate that he was such a sweet boy and we had so much fun and such a good time. And he was a smart kid. He would come over and just talk to my parents and talk. He was half Jewish and his dad was the Jewish one, was kind of was just a dick and insecure about being a short Jewish guy on Long Island where there's all these fucking Italian guys, whatever. And then my family was just so Jewish and Jewy, and my mom was Jewish and my dad was gentle, and he was like, he would just fall into them, just like my best friend Daniel would fall into them. Such a sweet boy. And so that was like a good experience, you know, but also like draft one, you know. So I was with this high school boyfriend from my senior year of college, the middle of the senior year of high school into the middle of my sophomore year of college, 2 years. And it was almost a protective measure to go to college and not have even the option to hook up with anybody else. Protective spiritually because I wasn't cool and relaxed and open enough like that, you know, and protective in a literal way because campus rape, literally. And especially at that time, it was, I went to college in 2005. We're talking the height of Lindsay Lohan being tortured publicly and we're calling it success. Britney Spears being tortured publicly and we're calling this success. Very confusing. Paris Hilton, you know, being whatever by Ashton Kutcher. And we're like, she's so lucky, you know, whatever the fuck was going on in the Von Dutch era, is when I entered school. Oh my God, cowboy boots in New York City. Oh my God, Jesus. Just honestly, traditional, or I'll just say not traditional, but a very captured and closely controlled concept of femininity, just revamped and washed and dried and then put out again as though it's new. So fucking boring. And so protectively, I'm not hooking up with anybody. I'm not trying to. And I'm visiting my boyfriend went to Binghamton and he's visiting and I'm visiting him and having no sex for periods and then having sex for a weekend because we're seeing each other. I found very painful. It was too much too soon or whatever. This is also how sweet is this boy. He got me my first vibrator. How sweet. So sweet. And it was so meaningful and life-changing because I was too ashamed to get it myself. And for some reason, you know what? I just paused. Internal homophobia. Zoe Lister-Jones's episode and the experience of making that was a turning point for me. That was like a more spontaneous interview than I've ever had. My husband and I were like talking about it afterwards. Like this was a new level. And also like her sharing her internalized misogyny was changed me because I was surprised because I idealized her in a certain way. And her internalized homophobia, I was like, totally, man. And like my own sexuality for myself is like partially internalized homophobia. Why I didn't want to like cross the line of knowing what that pleasure of orgasm was. So sweet boy gets me a vibrator. That feels good. But even still these bouts of having sex and then no sex and then lots of sex over a weekend and then no sex. He left a visit where we had sex over the weekend and I was in freshman year at NYU and I was taking a shower and the pain of these urethral spasms caused me to faint. I fainted in the shower. And I woke up so scared, so confused. Where am I? You know, I don't know if you've ever fainted, but you're literally like, I'm a being on a planet. Like, it's like you're in space, you know, it's fucking crazy. So I call my parents, I fainted. They drive in immediately, pick me up and take me home. And we like somewhat figure it out. You know, we needed to figure it out. I went to a psychiatrist, LOL, this pill pusher, but I got what I needed at the time. He was right. But one of those guys who's a psychiatrist who meets you for 7 minutes. But what I got on was, you know what? I'm not going to like talk about a label of a drug, a brand, but I'll say it was an antidepressant that was not only a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, but also a norepinephrine uptake inhibitor. Not only serotonin, which is like about dopamine, but also norepinephrine, which is pain receptors. So I was, it also helped me manage pain. It really, really did and really helped. And we found a urologist. Like we could have found it if we pressed the gas hard, but like I didn't ask my parents to press the gas hard, but this made us all very scared. Press the gas hard on finding a urologist right in my little town, St. James. So he took me seriously, was so calm and kind about my interstitial cystitis. You know why? Because his daughter had it. This brilliant guy, Anand Giridharadas, is this just a writer and like thought leader that I know who's so brilliant. We were once at this luncheon that we were just talking about. We just got right into it, talking about feminism. And we were talking about how, I'm not saying this is true of this doctor's ilk or personality or spirit or whatever, but Anand and I were laughing at the concept of men becoming feminists only when it's organized around their mother, their wife, or their daughter. They got to either come out of that pussy, get into that pussy, or wipe that pussy to be a feminist. And this doctor, God bless him, he was incredible. I have no idea who he was before this, but like the only way I could find a doctor who knew what the fuck I was talking about was because he recognized the problem in his daughter, and he fortunately happened to be a urologist. So he was like, my daughter has this. We have gotten treatment for her. It really helps. So what this doctor taught me about was hydrodistension, distending with water. So it's a procedure where you fill the bladder with water to stretch it out, force it to stretch and relax. And then you drain the water and then you swish some medicine around and then drain the medicine out. But swish the medicine around the walls of the bladder that are like pain meds. And I did this procedure 3 times. You go under for it. I did this procedure 3 times at age 20, at age 22, and age 24. And it really helped. Hydrodistension. It really helped. It's not invasive. You know, it's a catheter, but it's not invasive, and it really fucking helped. And it like lasted in my mind for 2 years, but you know, we're ending this at age 24. I'm 39 now. I really understand after. I started therapy when I was 17. Boy, did I fucking need it. But I started this analysis that I'm in 6.5 years ago. And now I really understand, like I was saying, the sexuality thing and the robbery, causing it at age 4. Like I didn't know this until this latest therapy practice that I'm in. And, you know, the mind-body connection. Well, guess what, bitch? The mind and body were always connected until the power structure that we live inside disconnected it. And now, you know, they sell it to you as, oh, we're connecting it back for you. It's been separated. Let's talk about the systems that separated it. All this to say, I now understand like the mental emotional context with which I developed this chronic pain. So age 24. So I started comedy when I was 19. I'm doing comedy and by the way, that's probably also part of why I fainted. You know, it was pain. Yes, that was the immediate cause. But part of it, I was like, I'm in New York City. I want to do comedy and it's fucking scary. Well, from age 19 to 24, I'm doing comedy every night, stand-up, sketch, improv, at least 5 nights a week. And when I met Abby when I was 19 also. And at age 22 is when I started making the web series, and Abby was 25, the web series of Broad City. And by age 24, we were so nuts. We made 35 short films. I'm telling you, the mental, emotional context here, it's 2 parts. That by age 24, I buried the lead, but whatever, it's fucking long form. I was pain-free by age 24. And this was twofold, I think. First of all, it was the last time that I got this procedure done, this hydrodistension. But I also had a container for my art. It was Broad City, the web series, but I was doing comedy, but I was on a track. We had built the train tracks and built the train cars, and we could just put the fucking contents in the train cars and run it and run it and run it. I felt found. And also Abby, you know, oh my God, like, you know, we're looking at each other like, girl, we got this. And it's not even to say, oh, we had got this because it became a TV show. It was truly the process of knowing there was a container to put all this energy and obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety and depression into and be productive with it. Fucking God love Broad City. I fucking love it. But you know, for me, it's a personal thing. And at age 24, that was part of what got me pain-free. What also got me pain-free was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name now. Her name was Christy, but this incredible Texas-born physical therapist, and she went back, Christy Latham. She went back to Texas to serve the people of Texas, her amazing pelvic floor physical therapy services. So this ranged from exercises to, I had literal knots. Like you have a knot in your back. Oh my God, that's such a hard knot. In my labia, that she would like deep tissue massage out by like pressing into and pressing and pressing and pressing until it broke up. It was like, dude, it was fucking insane. We would put these like TENS unit nodules on, I guess on the labia. I don't even know, but something where I would do a Kegel and then I would watch this sort of measurement on a scale. And the needle would never go back down to 0 because my pelvic floor was holding all the tension. So it was like so interesting and helpful to see. And I would sit on ice. I would just straddle ice. I would also use heat. I learned all these techniques. And at age 24, between this third hydrodistension procedure, between Christy Latham's incredible guidance and physical therapy practice, and between my creativity, finding a partner, finding a container, I became pain-free, literally fucking pain-free. I was like sexually active, you know, like it's not even like, oh, sex hurts. It was like sex was an indicator for certain things about this condition, but that wasn't really the cause, right? It was all these things. So I'm 24 and pain-free. Thank goodness. Thank fucking God. I had chronic pain expressed through my pelvic floor from ages 4 to 24. 20 years of debilitating chronic pain that would send me home. And I'd be like, I'm out for the night, as a teenager, as a college kid. And I couldn't explain it to people. And at age 24, I earned becoming pain-free. So I didn't have pain. I met my husband when I was 25. And when I was 33 is when I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I was like, I want to do pelvic floor physical therapy again. There's something narrative here where I want to revisit what that was, but now in this new context. And I not only was a patient at Origin Physical Therapy, but I became an investor in Origin Physical Therapy because it is incredible, especially because they take health insurance. So I had copays of $9, baby. And I happened to be in LA shooting this Apple show, Lord and Miller show on Apple called The After Party. I was in LA, which is where their only flagship is currently. And I was going to the office to do physical therapy, pregnant, while I was filming this show. And it was awesome. Just the knowledge, just the conversation with my body, with my pelvic floor was so wonderful leading up to pregnancy, where I remember learning that your diaphragm is actually your entire torso from your throat to your pelvic floor. And it's like opening up a Coke can. You can have power in holding your breath and pushing like in birth, and you can release that power by opening the Coke can. Hard breath, soft breath. But this being joyous and celebratory, and after the triumph of releasing myself from a 20-year chronic pain prison. So, funny enough. Oh, and also I had a doula who was like wild. She was like Kathleen Turner. She looked like Kathleen Turner. She sounded like Kathleen Turner, which looked like my Grandma Blanche, but didn't sound like my Grandma Blanche, but like incredible older, just sort of curvy older lady with white and gray hair. And I was like, I'm not going to use an epidural because I'm a natural bitch. And she was like, you're going to use an epidural. She didn't say it like that, but she was like, I highly recommend an epidural. Just eliminate the pain so you can have as fun and good an experience and as pleasurable an experience as possible. And for me, that was the right decision, bitch. So when I started, I had 3 false alarms, which I cover in my, I don't cover the first 3. I cover the final false alarm in my stand-up special, Human Magic. But I had 3 false alarms. But the 3rd false alarm was the day before I actually did go into labor. So I go into labor and I was like, I'm going to labor at home for as long as I can. And that ended up being 24 hours. So 24 hours at home. And it was hard, but it was nice to be at home. And I didn't do like a shower because I didn't like a warm shower actually relaxes your body and slows it down. No, I just was like, I wanted to fucking eat. You can't eat once you go into the hospital. Cool. Really, really smart. Probably like based on like 1930s fucking whatever laws and research. But yeah, for 24 hours I was at home and the contractions were getting shorter, but not that much shorter. They ended up being, maybe they were 2 minutes. No, from 7 to like 4 minutes in 24 hours. But my doula, Kathleen Turner, LOL, was like, it's time to go to the hospital, my dear. It's time to go to the hospital. I'll meet you there and let's go get an epidural. Epidural, by the way, scariest part of the birth for me. Oh, that was the only time I was crying. Sobbing. Oh my God. Sobbing. Holding onto my husband, just a full-on baby. It was COVID too, by the way, so I had to go into the hospital, make sure I was in labor before my husband could come in, which was a way better situation than women who had to fucking give birth for the first time with no partner there because of COVID. Anyway, so I am in labor. David can come in, and I get the epidural. I'm losing my fucking mind. It's 24 hours at this point, and then with the epidural. Oh, and when I got there, I was only 2 centimeters separated. You have to get to 10 to have a baby. So 24 hours of labor from 7 minutes to 4 minutes between contractions. And I had only gotten 2 centimeters wide. Crazy, right? To me, I thought this is really painful and so intense. I must be at 6 or whatever. No, just 2. And then this physician's assistant was like, give me 1 second. And she puts her fingers in me and she does this. And she got me to 3.5 centimeters naturally. And she was like, yeah, I just do this. She said, they call me golden fingers. And she whisked herself away. I was like, that was a bad fucking bitch who opened my vagina to 3.5 centimeters, golden fingers. Okay, bitch. Yes. So then I go get the epidural, which normally slows down contractions, but however, an opening, but not for me. At hours 25 to 36, I went from 3.5 centimeters because of golden fingers to 9. It's early in the morning on a Tuesday morning, and in 2021 in June, and so once I got to 9 centimeters open, and it's Tuesday morning, my doctor was like, "Girl, let's do this." So she gives me what she called a kiss of Pitocin, which is the like induction medicine. And that gets me from 9 centimeters to 10. My labor was because of the epidural, because of all of my physical therapy, guidance from Origin Physical Therapy, how in touch I was with my body. It was so fun. It was so fucking fun. It took me 4 pushes, which means 4 contractions. So they're just a few minutes apart, 4 different times. So it's like when you push, go. You're just going for the full, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, 2 minutes. And my little athletic OB, she's like, fucking, you don't know this until you're in the birth. She's a coach. She's an athletic coach. Push. The first push, she magically turned my daughter's nose. The nose is supposed to be up facing the clit. My daughter's nose was down facing my butthole. The first push, she gently takes this newborn infant's, half a fetus, half a newborn infant at this point, and twists her up, gets her in the right position. Oh my God. Oh my God. Breathe. Okay, here it goes. Go. Oh. It was so amazing. It was so fucking cool. Whew. And then 3 pushes and then rest, 3 push, rest, push, and the baby's out. Oh my God. It was so amazing. And somehow David was filming. Somehow it was so cool. It was so cool. And for this to be, oh my God, for this to be like to close that narrative with all that pain and sadness I had with my, oh my God, all this pain and sadness that I had experienced with my pelvic floor was so empowering and so amazing. And this tiny little bitch, my OB, just like fucking rocking it, bitch. And the nurses are like, yeah, dude. And David and my doula, and she's like, ha, 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 And David's like magically filming the moment that we find out it's a girl. And it's like so incredible. And she's so beautiful. And I'm so lucky. We're so lucky. She was so healthy. And she was incredible. And just immediately took to breastfeeding. I was so just lucky, just fucking lucky. And she had her head on my chest and she lifts it up and turns it around. And like newborns don't normally have neck strength like that. And a hush comes over us. We're like, holy shit, just so lucky. And so that was so empowering. And I'm going to end it there. There's obviously postpartum stuff. But I think that might be for another time because this is so narratively sweet. And if you've been listening, thank you so much. That was amazing. That was thrilling and exciting. And I wonder what you think. Tell me what you think. This has been an exclusively human-made production. This has been a Star Picks production. I want to thank my creative producers, Annika, Carlson, and David Rooklin, especially for being with me through the process of getting here and in recording this. I also want to thank my creative producers, Kelsie, Kiley, Madeline, Kim, and Glennis, Meagher. I want to also thank the people who have made this set look so beautiful and so soft and powerful. That's Lexa Krebs, that's Nicole Maupin, and Kevin Deming. I want to thank Raymo Ventura for the musical sting and the graphics that we love so much. I want to thank Tovah Leibowitz, who remains just a fucking awesome editor and collaborator. And I want to thank the band Don Her for this outro musical sting. And I'm going to add our booker, Amanda Jane Stern, and our ad sales partner, Deanna Spinelli, for their partnership as well, because damn, I can't do this alone. It takes a lot of people, as you just heard. If you like this show and this project, subscribe to the channel and like the video and comment. I really, really, really want to know what you think. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.